So today, what I want to talk about is what are the best books that you can read if you're an entrepreneur. And I've got some pretty hard opinions about this, and there's no substitute for lots and lots of reading, getting your hands on anything that you can get your hands on, reading newspapers, reading magazines, reading blogs and articles. But these are the top 10 books that if you read them, you'll have a serious foundation in how to build companies. And you'll have kind of like the thought tools that will allow you to be effective, right? It's about good thinking, and good thinking leads to good actions lead to good habits, and good habits lead to destiny, right? So the first one is this Sam Walton, Made in America. And the reason why I love this book is because Sam Walton was probably, will go down in the history as one of the greatest entrepreneurs that will ever live. He already is known as that, but whenever we look back, 100 years from now, we're going to look at Sam Walton, and there's going to be a lot that will come out about his life and just how great of an entrepreneur he is. So this is a book that tells his story, and there's so many good nuggets of information in this book that will just kind of get you in the mind of a really, really the ultimate entrepreneur, the perfect model of an entrepreneur is what I call this book. If you read this and you just follow the Sam Walton model, you're more likely to be successful. This guy is amazing. So that's the first one. The second one is I really, really love this book. And this is from Peter Drucker. It's The Effective Executive. This is something that's a world-renowned book, bestseller. If you're in management for any large company, you're going to have to read this at some point most of the time. And Peter Drucker was one of the world's foremost management consultants for, I think he did consulting for 50 years, and he was just like amazing at it. He's got a university program on the West Coast that's named after him, and has a couple of research grants that were founded in his name. Peter Drucker wrote this book, and it changed the way that people think about how to manage companies and how to be an executive. And the whole basis is that we live in a society now where we're knowledge workers. So how you spend that limited amount of bandwidth that you can use thinking and doing to move the needle is what this book is all about. So this is the keys to the kingdom right here. And this will teach you how to run meetings. This will teach you about where to focus your time, how to think about priorities, things like that. So this, for anybody who wants to be a world-class executive, this is recommended reading. This is really, really valuable stuff. So I think number 2, in terms of management thinking and like how to run organizations, right behind The Effective Executive is this book from Andy Grove called Output Management. What this is about is basically the theory of constraints. So in the 1970s, there's a guy named Elihu Goldratt who created, he's a physicist, and he created this operations theory called constraints theory. And he basically said that the most important thing that you can do for an organization is to increase throughput, which means increase the amount of gross margin flowing through the business over a day, for example, or through time. And so Andy was Intel. Andy Grove was one of the founders of Intel, and he was the CEO of the company at the time. And he really took this idea, because they're a manufacturing firm, this is really important, consequential stuff to them. He took that idea of constraints theory and throughput, and he applied it to how to manage a company. And he wrote a book about it. And this is probably one of the most important management books of the 20th century. When we look back at this has been extremely valuable. So this is, again, if you manage people, this is must read. So Andy Grove, Output Management. And so the first one was like model of how do I what is the ultimate entrepreneur. The second 2 is like how do I manage the way that I think about my time and where I focus my energy within the organization. And I want to step back from that and look at this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Everybody's read this or heard about this or knows about this, but this is something that you can build a life around. It's a great way to think about the world. And a lot of times we will pick, we will be good at getting things done, but we don't get the right things done. And so the Andy Grove book and the Peter Drucker book are kind of on that, focused on how to get a lot of stuff done, how to get the right things done. But this zooms out of a business setting, and this focuses on how you as a person can impact all of these, not only your business, but your family, your health. And it's a lot about how to manage yourself. And at the end of the day, what I get from this is, if you can make and keep a promise to yourself, and you have some rules with yourself, and you manage yourself really well, and you can trust yourself, then all this other stuff becomes way, way easier. But if you can't kind of master yourself first, you don't have any business messing around with this other stuff. So this is really, really important foundational stuff. This is number 4 on my list. And then number 5 on my list, and this is kind of where it stops. You can see the rest on the blog. But this is a book called For Your Improvement, and it's written by a guy named Michael Lombardo, who's like one of the world's foremost researchers on what are the skill sets that you need, the character traits that you need to be an effective executive, CEO, entrepreneur. And he mapped the skills and traits of like hundreds of different entrepreneurs, CEOs, and different companies all across the world over like 20 or 30 years. He wrote a book about it. And this is I don't know anybody who's read this. But this is, to me, this is eye-opening because it shows you, here's the checklist of things that you've got to be good at to be able to be effective and run a company. And so I think of the checklist as like, once you graduate past these 5, you kind of move on to this next level. Once you graduate past these 5, you can kind of move on to these next levels. And you can step up to where you can see really clearly, here are all the things that I've got to learn over time to be able to run a Fortune 500 company, which is really interesting. Nobody's ever done that before, but there's a known set of skills that you've got to have to be able to run a Fortune 500 company, and it's in this book. And it's super comprehensive. It's dense. For some of you guys, you might fall asleep reading it, but if you go through it, take it seriously, and see if some of this stuff applies to you, like your weak spots, and you can really pinpoint those. Like I did, I went through all of these. It's set up to where it'll give you like the trait number 30, intellectual horsepower. Are you weak in this? What does that mean to be weak in it? Are you strong in it? What does that look like? And for this one, I said, all right, I'm okay on that one. There's some other stuff in here that I'm really weak on. And so, like, managing and measuring work, I've got to improve on that. So I've gone through all of this, and I've actually got a spreadsheet that I've created with all these in it that scores myself, and I give it to some clients too whenever they are going through this. But it makes it really objective for you to look at yourself in a way that helps you understand, am I going the right direction? Am I going where I want to go? So this is number 5 on the list, and I highly recommend this because this will open your eyes to like where you're really at, right? And how far you really have to go. So those are the top 5, and you can get the rest, the other 5 on the blog, and you can see that somewhere around this video or a link below this video. And I'll just give a quick bonus too. So those are my 10 top foundational business books. Once you graduated from the foundations, a lot of the things that I spend my time thinking about is like, how do you create what's called competitive advantage? So Warren Buffett has this concept of economic moat. So think about your business as a castle, and the bigger the moat that we can build, the harder it is for competitors to come in and take our market share, take dollars from us to disrupt our business, right? And so Michael Porter was he's a Harvard Business School researcher, teacher. He literally wrote the book on competitive advantage. And super high pay consultant, speaking engagements, he gets paid $50,000 or more, I'm sure, now, to be able to do these speaking events. And this book, if you actually read it, if you can get through it, will give you a set of knowledge that will separate you from most of the people that you're ever going to talk to in business. This is the piece, this has given me some secrets that, and the great thing about it is it's so dense that nobody will read it. And so I will read it. I've got some stuff highlighted here. I'm going through chapter 4 right now. I'm reading over differentiation and just going through that again. This is something that if you can get through this, read it, it's really, this is about setting up the game so that you can win. Setting up the game and picking the rules of the game so that you can win. If you can learn how to do this really, really well, that is what I tell a lot of people is the game that you choose to play is often the most important game, or the most important decision that you'll ever make. The game that you choose to play is the most important decision that you'll ever make. If you get in the wrong game, which a lot of people who are super entrepreneurial and super like, oh, I'll do it now, I got an idea, let's go run and do something. They never think about what the strategy is. And this book is about the strategy, right? And so no strategies works without implementation and execution, but if you can get the execution and the implementation down, you know how to do that, layer on the strategy and you'll be unstoppable. So this is the bonus book, and I highly recommend it. I think this is, you can get them pretty inexpensively, $20 or $30 off of Amazon used, so or at $40 new. So check that out, and hope to see you back sometime soon here at Duckworth.info.